this heaven?
No. It's Iowa.
Ben, let's beat it, man. I don't like it here. You know what happened to Johnny Gobbs.
What are you, twigged out? Johnny Gobbs got ripped and took a walk off a roof, all right? No big loss.
No, man. That ain't what I heard at all. I heard that the bat got him. Oh, no.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tweet to all your friends about me.
What are you?
I'm the Pod of Dreams. And this is Batman. 1989.
Every punk in this town is scared stiff. They say he can't be killed. They say he drinks blood.
Is there a 6-foot bat in Gotham City?
Vicky Vale.
Bruce Wayne.
And what do you do for a living?
He's a tired old man. Can't run this city without me. Your luck is about to change. Winged freak terrorizes. Wait till they get a load of me. My life is really complex. I have given a name to my pain. I'm Batman.
Okay, welcome everybody. Where do you get all those wonderful toys, Ben? This is Batman, 1989, on the Pod of Dreams. Thanks for listening. Love this movie. Rewatch for me. The reason I picked it is we're coming up on the new Batman movie. It's out already when you listen to this. Ben, you have seen the new Batman. You've seen all the Batmans. What'd you think of the 1989 Batman?
Man, I was very prepared to think this was going to be really corny and cheesy and not nearly as fun as I remembered it in my head. That's what I was thinking before I watched it. But boy, did I have the opposite reaction. So, and I don't want to spend the whole time or really much time at all comparing it to the new Batman, the Matt Reeves one. But a little context, I think, did inform my viewing a little bit. Not all of it, but a little bit. I saw the Batman with my wife, liked it, but it was like Matt Reeves looked at the Christopher Nolan Batman movies and said, you know what? Those movies aren't dark enough. They aren't filled with enough shitty people. There's not enough death in those movies. It's just not as bleak and depressing. And so I saw that one before I came back to this one, and it was just like this glorious, palate-cleansing, joy-filled viewing experience. I had fun basically from the first frame all the way to the end. Not that it's perfect or it's the best movie of all time, but boy, it was fun. Make Batman movies fun again. I might be in that camp. What do you think, Eric?
Well, that's a thin line to walk, though, because they kept making Batman movies fun, and then they got ridiculous with the Batman and Robin and the Mr. Freeze ones, which are just they're trying to be too much of what Tim Burton was doing. They're trying to make them fun, and they just got stupid.
Well, so, I view that as a Joel Schumacher problem. I mean,
maybe.
Yes, the tone's all wrong, the balance is off, for sure. But Joel Schumacher is just a cornball. And
we landed that Christopher Nolan had the best sort of balance of that, or no?
No, so I mean, if we're turning this into a comparing all the Batman movies podcast,
No, just certainly let's not do that. But yeah,
there's almost no goofiness. I mean, Christopher Nolan came in with Batman Begins, and there's very little goofiness in it at all. I mean, it's a serious movie. It's not as bleak and depressing as the newest one, but he's like, we're just done being serious. It's like the change from like a Roger Moore's take on James Bond, which is incredibly silly and cartoonish, cut to, and we miss that everything in between, and then just go straight to Daniel Craig. I mean, it's this kind of sharp contrast, although Batman had their transition to goofiness as well. But that's kind of the comparison I have in my head. And, he takes the premise of Batman seriously in Batman Begins. You figure out, how does he get all the equipment? What does he do in his spare time? What's happening in his life?
It's definitely more of an origin story than this one, the 89 Batman, which is interesting because, it's literally like the first superhero movie. I mean, the Superman movies obviously were before this, but like, this Batman is really the template for modern superhero movies. And it's not an origin story at all. He's already Batman when the movie starts. But yeah,
there's a little bit thrown in. They throw in the death of the parents. That's almost an afterthought.
Got to. And if you don't want the new Batman spoiled, I guess skip the next 15 seconds. Just hit the skip forward button. But I need a question answered because I have not seen the new one yet. Do you see the Kents get, or not the Kents, the Waynes get killed in the new Batman? Do you see his parents die?
No, but it is a heavy plot point. Their deaths weighs on his mind very heavily throughout the movie.
Because that, and rewatching this, that's the part about this movie that I just hated, was the scene where his parents die. It's like, I've seen this like 30 times, but forgetting that this is like literally the first time most people ever saw it. So,
and I liked how in this version, the 89 Burton version, it really isn't. I mean, yeah, I guess you can piece it together, but mostly the movie works without it. You don't even really need it. It would be just fine. He's just this guy in a bat suit, some rich guy fighting crime. It's silly. It's fun. There's a bit of an edge to it to balance out what's going on. And Tim Burton, I mean, here's one of the things. Tim Burton, nothing about the Gotham City we see in the 89 Batman version feels like real life. I can't place a time on. It's like a fantastic world. It could be like the 1920s. You know what I mean? I felt like 1920s, 1930s, almost like a gangster movie. Like we're seeing Tommy guns, and when he had the flashback, it looks the same. There's just no difference.
It's Tim Burton's mind, though. You know what I mean? It feels like Batman inside. All of his other Edward Scissorhands are inside a Beetlejuice or something like that. Because the world, Gotham City doesn't feel like any city, whereas like in all the rest of the Batman movies. Gotham City's like Chicago in Batman Begins, or the new Batmans, or mixed between New York City and Chicago. Right. Like it feels like a real American city with a real life, whereas this movie, it's just some fantasy world that makes no sense.
Right, but that helps. Like there's nothing about what happens that makes any actual sense in this movie. Like the logic of it doesn't really make sense. If you think, where does Joker get like an electric buzzer, like where he can shake somebody's hand in electric? Who made that? Somebody had to make that, but. Those questions are just gone.
Well, there is a bit I caught in this movie that I don't ever remember. When Bruce Wayne's doing the like research on Napier, once he finds out that he's still alive and he's the Joker.
Pre-Joker.
He says something about how he was like an expert in chemical engineering or something like that. So like that's how he's able to mix these chemicals together, which is like I didn't realize that. So maybe he just makes all this shit himself. He's just some crazy scientist.
Sure, I don't. That's fine. That explanation is as good as any. I don't really care. I don't really need an explanation because it's not going for realism. The tone makes it clear we're not in a real place, and it's informed by the super corny '60s Batman with Adam West. I mean, it's not that corny by a long shot, but there's some of that DNA in it.
Well, I think Nicholson's Joker looks a lot like, was it Romero? Who's the guy that played
Cesar Romero?
Cesar Romero, played the Joker. He looks a lot like Cesar Romero.
He took that performance and just made it a little scarier, a little more dangerous. But there's a lot of camp there, and it works. I mean, I concede Heath Ledger's the best Joker. I'm not really laying claim or arguing for nothing, but I forgot how good this Joker performance is.
My God.
It's great.
We need to spend some time on that. So you said like you turned this on and it just kind of took you back to this world and you were.
Well, I'll give you a little other context that people maybe don't want, but so the first movie I ever saw in the theater was The Little Mermaid. The earliest theatrical memory I have is actually
Same year,
this
right?
movie.
Same year.
No, I think Little
Little
Mermaid
Mermaid's
was
89. No, Little Mermaid's 89.
Same. So all right, same year.
You know what else is 89?
What?
Field of Dreams, baby.
Okay.
Same year.
Perfect. All right. Lots of connections, Field of Dreams. But I don't remember the specifics of the movie. I remember being in the theater and seeing that intro of the Danny Elfman score.
Yeah.
And at the time when I was 5, I just kind of felt like I was going through a tunnel. It turns out we're going over the contours of the Batman symbol. But I feel like I was on a thrill ride, and it was just like that experience burrowed in my subconscious, just that experience of going around, because it's kind of like you're in a vehicle driving around the outside of the Batman symbol. So I saw that, and that immediately hit a little bit of those old memories that are buried in the recesses of my brain. But yes, I was transported. I was there. It's like, this is different. It's its own thing. It's a fantasy, and this is going to be fun from the get-go. Was that similar to you?
Well, I'm sure I saw this in the theater. I'm sure it was one of those, saw the McDonald's toys and we saw it 12 times in the movie theater. I don't remember it. I mean, I would have been 7. I don't have like clear memories of seeing it in the theater. But no, I guess I was saying more like in terms of rewatching it, like you just sort of connected into the world. I had a little bit difference. Again, I've seen this movie a million times, but I haven't watched it in a really long time. When I turned it on, that first scene where they're on the roof and he takes out the Crooks guys and like I was like, when it started, I'm like, are we watching his parents get killed?
I had the same thought. I was like, wait, is this the scene?
Right. I was a little confused. I'm like, oh, that's right. They do the like faux where it's basically his parents, what happened to his parents, but he stops it, which I think is actually kind of cool. But that whole scene, there's so many like weird things, like the like weird animation of him on the tower. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Is this movie really going to like not connect the way it did when I was a kid? And then even the scene where he beats up the guys and they shoot him and I'm Batman. Like that it just didn't work that much for me this time around.
Oh, see, it did for me. Like the effect looked bad, but it worked for me.
The second it cuts to Nicholson and he shows up on this movie, I'm just like, oh, hell yes. Like there's a reason. Like I remember when watching the Heath Ledger Batman and being like, there's no way he'll be better than Jack Nicholson. I actually thought that before I saw the movie.
Sure.
That's how good Nicholson – I mean, you can't understate how amazing Nicholson is in this movie. He's so great. And especially as an adult, all of his jokes land so much better for me now than they did as a kid. Like, he's incredible. It's such a different Joker. But everything he does to the, like, repeating people's lines back to him, like the number one guy, you're my number one guy, like that whole part.
Oh, he does a great Jack Palance. Jack Palance plays his boss. He does a great Jack Palance impersonation.
But there's no reason for it. He just does it because it's funny. And Nicholson is 100% committed to being the Joker. Like when you think of Nicholson, he's obviously had this super long career and been in things from the 70s and 60s and like cowboy movies even. Like he's been in everything. But he just dives right into this homicidal clown Joker that plays with cards and is just crazy. He's so great in this movie, and that's the part when I start, when the scenes with Nicholson popped in, I was just like, oh my god, this is so great.
It took Joker to get that. I was there a little earlier.
Well, and then too the guy that plays, who's the reporter guy, that actor, the guy's, I never liked him in this movie. I never liked him as an actor. He's just bugs me, and he's annoying in this movie.
His one-liners are all terrible.
Yeah,
his jokes are all really
Kim
bad.
Basinger, she's amazingly hot. I don't think she's a very good actor. Like,
and she has nothing to work with in this movie. It didn't make sense. She didn't care about her perspective. Clearly, yeah, I'm with you. There wasn't anything there.
And and I think, I'm a absolutely huge Michael Keaton fan, but. He's okay in this movie. He's an all right Bruce Wayne. Like I think he's sort of stoic and kind of distant throughout the movie, and he's good in the Batman costume. But I don't think he's an especially great. It's not like an especially great performance by him in this movie.
Well, yeah, nobody seems to know what to do with Bruce Wayne. It's an interesting question because I couldn't land on Bruce Wayne. He's like this guy who was born with a ton of wealth, presumably, and then he acts like some blue collar guy and he doesn't know about stuff. He's like, oh, I'm just one of the guys. Let's get people grants, and he's just kind of aloof and weird. It wasn't a problem. It didn't get in the way, but I'm like, oh, what angle is this? I don't get it. Whereas, you got with Christian Bale, it was like, oh, the costume really is Bruce Wayne. That's the act.
I think he's the best Bruce Wayne. Like, I haven't seen the Pattinson one, but I think Christian Bale he commits the most to like being this
and
rich,
Nolan's the only
troubling.
one that did anything with the character too. I mean, Nolan was clearly interested in fleshing out, Bruce Wayne as a person character and his motivations. And this movie isn't interested in it. I don't know how much I would say the most recent one's interested in either. So it's just like, we got to have a guy who's kind of a little quirky, kind of fine. Just
but
so we
the
get Batman stuff.
The sort of tactileness of the world that Tim Burton creates is so real. Like the smoke and steam and everywhere they go, and like like you said, the Tommy guns, this like gangster kind of world, and everything's corrupt, and there's drugs everywhere, garbage everywhere. But it's not like Taxi Driver, because it doesn't feel real. You know what I mean? It feels so fake and cartoony.
No, the architecture is all goofy and not real. And like I said, it might as well be the Prohibition era. I mean, I just get the vibes that like there's people smoking cigars.
The Eckhart, I was gonna say, the Eckhart Kopp guy.
I loved that guy.
The cigar,
And that guy, he played Porkins in Star Wars: New Hope. He's in Raiders of the Lost Ark. I love.
Oh, is that him? Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
That's Porkins. Yeah, he chews on the cigar almost literally. Just has this slow drawl every time. He's so brazen that at the crime scene early on, and then he just walks like 10 feet away from the crime scene to go
Why
talk
don't you
to
broadcast it? Yeah.
Jack Napier, who's just like around the corner.
Just toss him a bag of money,
Like,
but
okay.
Yeah, it's just there's so much of that feels, and then you got City Hall, and you got your guy Billy D. Williams. Like it feels like this world unto itself,
Right.
And you think about it,
like
Tim Burton go from Beetlejuice, Batman to Edward Scissorhands in like a 2-year span. It's like 88 to 90. He put out those 3 movies. Like that's pretty incredible. How Batman, I guess, is not original because it's a comic book, but like, did any of the comic books feel or look that way? I feel like he created that from scratch, basically.
Oh yeah, he took a little bit of stuff.
No one else could have made a movie like you said. The later ones were just trying to kind of copy that because he didn't want to do them anymore. But it's all in Tim Burton's mind that this is created. I was thinking about that too. Like, Batman is such a culturally significant character now. In terms of superheroes, and there'll be Batman movies like there'll be James Bond movies, right? Like they'll be doing at the Oscars a 60-year retrospective on all the Batman, right? Don't you think? Isn't that just kind of the way it feels?
Yes, they'll be making Batman movies long after we're dead. Yes.
But is that because of this movie, you think, or I know it was obviously a comic book, but this movie kind of brought it to popular culture, right?
So you're more dismissive of Superman than I am. I mean, that movie they made 4 of those, I think. And so there were already
Superman
like 3.
had nothing to do with Batman, except that as they're superheroes.
Right, we're talking about superhero movies in general. I mean, this one brought Batman to the masses and made it a massive pop culture
success.
success.
I'm just talking about the character Batman. Like,
oh, sure.
How
if this
Batman
hadn't been
is so significant.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, it matters. But at some point, we were probably going to get the superhero revolution anyway, and he would have been a popular character to do a movie on anyway. So I think we would have been living in an era of Batman movies regardless.
But was like Batman a giant comic book character? Was he like one of the most popular
you're
comics?
asking the wrong guy. I don't know. I was never super into comics. I always found comics too daunting. Never knew where to start. And the fact that there's several thousand iterations in different universes. And
I know the Dark Knight version that came out after this, which Nolan has really kind of used for the template of his movies. Like, isn't that Frank Miller? I think he's the comic book artist. That's way different than I suppose there was the early live action show, which I guess probably is the reason Batman was known.
Yeah, but this took it seriously enough that people could enjoy it.
That's the biggest movie of the year. It made $250 million in the late 80s. By far the biggest movie. It did well enough for 3 direct sequels and a bunch of superstars, including George Clooney, to do a really terrible 4th version of the movies. I mean, yeah, this helped. I do think there's something primordial in the Batman character archetype that would have resonated and exploded on the scene in a different context potentially, but it doesn't matter. I mean,
it wouldn't have happened this way without Tim Burton. And this is, I don't know where you're at with Tim Burton. I mean, I think somewhere around Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, he lost me, and he's not really ever gotten me back. But this is when his vision was just so fresh and different and weird and idiosyncratic, and it wasn't like trite and boring, and he didn't become sort of a kitsch version of himself.
Yeah.
So
see,
it's
I
refreshing
didn't love Ed Wood. Maybe I need to rewatch that. Maybe it's better than I remember it. I didn't love Mars Attacks either. So really, I mean, I think Batman Returns, maybe we got to talk about that a little bit too, is really great. Batman Returns is, some people might even argue it's better than this one.
I would have, if you'd asked me, depending when you asked me, I would have said that. I mean,
okay.
Before the Nolan Batman movies, you said, what's the best Batman movie? I would have probably been torn between Batman and Batman Returns, and I would have oscillated between the two.
Yeah, it's pretty great. It's pretty great. But after Batman Returns, he hasn't made really anything since then that has really captivated me. We watched this last Halloween, but he's not like the director of The Nightmare Before Christmas, right? He's like the producer or something like that. I know it's an stop action animated movie. But
I think that's right.
Did he write it or something? He's got some connection to it.
It's something like that.
But like he made a Dumbo movie. He's doing all these Disney movies. Didn't he make like did he make a Alice in Wonderland? Right. Yeah, he made Alice in Wonderland.
He made two Alice in Wonderland movies.
Yeah, he
started doing a lot of existing IP, and then he's like, I'm just going to make it like Tim Burton, and then they just haven't been any good or very good. It's too much. It's sometimes where, like Wes Anderson might be a little too much potentially, depending on how much of the Wes Anderson dial he turns. I feel like the Tim Burton dial got turned up.
But see, I can always put on a Wes Anderson movie and be just
I like
enjoy
Wes Anderson
myself.
better.
Yeah. But it's
like
very
Wes Anderson
similar.
better.
Like you're in his head, just like you're in Tim Burton's head when you watch one of
his movies all feel the same.
Yeah.
But this, you just find the right blend of source material, actors, and it just works together exceedingly well. I mean, some of the visual effects are really dated. The internal logic is silly. I don't get the killing gas. He kills everybody at the museum, and then 30 seconds later they're all walking around without masks. That's a very toxic gas. You did not clear out the gas at all. I'm kind of anxious about it. I also think it's funny that if you just dress up a bunch of people as mimes, you can walk right up to a press conference and there are no cops around. You can just shoot people in broad daylight and then drive away.
Yeah, well, and there were cops there, but they didn't do anything until the mime started shooting, which was kind of funny. It's like, nobody's gonna do anything about this. I guess like the Oscars, you just walk up and smack somebody, nobody does anything. But yeah, I think there's parts of this movie too that I found this last time that it kind of dragged a bit. Really, once the Joker kind of starts taking over the city, that part of the movie I felt just kind of bored a little bit, I guess. And then you got the angst from Bruce Wayne, and should he let Vicky in and all? I don't need all that.
That was the part I didn't care. They're gonna sit in a room and tell quirky stories. I know Bruce Wayne's got rooms in his manor that he's never been in before, and that romance didn't land with me. But almost any time the Joker was on screen, I was having fun. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. The scene where they're at her apartment, I think, is so great. Where he just shows up. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. That whole sequence.
It's like, where is this going? Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre. But take the museum scene. This is the contrast. So this Nicholson's Joker is scary, and he might kill you. He might decide that he wants to kill you at any time. But he also seems like he'd be kind of fun to hang out with. Unlike
he's a party man. That's why they had that Prince song in there, right? Because he's the party man.
Right. When they're going around the museum, just spray painting. It's so nihilistic and silly, but there's a very childish, impulsive part of my brain that's like, oh man, that would be kind of fun to do, to just go in a museum and trash everything. There's just be something primordially gratifying about it. You're like, oh, this is, whereas with Ledger's Joker, that guy just scares me, and I wouldn't want to be around him at all. He just terrifies me. I feel so disassociated with anything. And yeah, Joker just seems to want to have fun. Seems like he wants to have a good time.
Well, he took the clown thing in that word direction, right? Where it's like, I'm just here to entertain everybody, and I'm the clown, right? He's goofing around. But yeah, then he was also a psychopath. So
sure, yeah, the things he thinks are fun aren't everybody's. But you wonder where he makes the stuff. Like they've got control of that chemical plant, but I thought there was a bunch of fires and leakage earlier in the movie when he gets deformed. And it doesn't matter. The balloon thing with him spewing gas out, like, I don't get the rules for this at all. Some people seem to be dying. Some people seem to be able to survive.
There's just so many iconic scenes. You mentioned where he falls in the ooze, the mirror, and then he smashes it and laughs like that. That is just ingrained in pop culture, that whole sequence. Like, it's so classic. It
is. And one of the things I don't think I ever realized until this time was that, okay, his face is stuck with the white makeup on before the accident. Like, that's just how his face looks. And when his face is like normal colored, that's because he's putting makeup on top of his makeup.
Yeah, that was one thing when I was a kid I didn't understand too. But there's the scene where he shocks the other gangster guy, and it's actually kind of a cool practical effect because he takes the handkerchief out of his pocket, and watching it now, you can tell he's like cupping like a thing of white paint, of white makeup. And he's supposed to, with the handkerchief, be rubbing off the skin-colored makeup, but he's actually rubbing on white makeup. You know what I mean? In this kind of like,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But it's so, you can tell he's doing it in a tricky way, and then he just does the top part of his head. But it is kind of a cool thing. And then the scene where Vicky splashes him, and he's like, I'm melting. Like the way they did the makeup, where you can tell it's like the skin-colored makeup is what's washing off, and the white makeup under is what's being exposed. It's kind of a cool way they did that.
Oh, it is. Yeah, that's one of the things I just didn't catch. I mean, because I haven't seen this movie, and I was probably in my teens when I saw it, maybe early 20s. But I don't think I noticed all these weird little details. And yeah, I mean, Jack Nicholson's just so insane and entertaining and charismatic. You're just like, oh, this is great.
Did you ever watch the animated series, the Batman animated series?
I did, not religiously, but I saw a lot of the episodes.
Oh yeah, that was like a big part of it was like in the early 90s, so it would have been under 10 or whatever when it came out. Yeah, that was a big deal. That to me, like the movie and then the animated series go kind of, they're synonymous for me in terms of like why Batman matters to me, the
movies resonated more. I mean, I watched those pretty regularly, especially there's like a Clayface two-parter that really stuck with me.
Yeah,
I really, really liked. I don't know why that character was.
I love the Clayface. Yeah, I've always hoped they would do one. I mean, I think they'd probably screw it up, and really it is kind of a weird character.
Well, it's similar to Joker in that he gets a freak chemical accident, and then I guess he just gets weird powers to transform into stuff.
But like the Bane, Bane is in that, and Nolan's Bane is pretty closely tied to the Bane in the series.
Yeah, see, I don't think I ever saw the Bane episodes in the animated series, but no, I don't know. Back to the movie. I'm just, the good guys they're just boring. They're just there. You're just they're the worst part of it. I always used to be scared of. So, his henchman Bob.
My number one guy, Bob. Yeah.
For whatever reason, that guy used to scare me more than the Joker, and I couldn't tell you why. I was watching this and I was like, that guy's not scary at all. What's
the thing about him that I guess
Willie Nelson guy?
Yeah, the Willie Nelson guy. The thing I didn't realize, Joker just shoots him.
Yeah.
He just kills him right before when he's like, those are my balloons. He took my balloons. He just shoots the guy. I guess I didn't remember that that's how he went out. It was like Joker just like, all right, I'm done with you.
It's like gun. He just says gun, and then he shoots him. But in those moments of
Lawrence, is he Lawrence? He's Lawrence, right?
Bob is his name. Might be Bob Lawrence. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think he always gets called Bob, but I could be wrong. But it just in one of those many wonderful touch. I mean, it's just absurd. It's a nonsensical comic book thing. But so first you have Batman taking so they have like a Macy's Day Parade basically. And it feels like a retro Macy's Day Parade. And they're throwing money out at people in the street. And they know this guy's a murderer and a criminal, and they let him do it, and no cops shoot him or anybody else on the street. It doesn't make any sense why nobody stops him, but they put on a parade and they have all this noxious gas. Batman takes his Batmobile or the Bat plane, I guess. Captures all the balloons and sends them out, and then decides he's gonna like do a victory shot back against the moon for no reason.
Oh yeah, no, that was just to sell ads or That's for the kids,
But then he comes back and he starts flying towards Joker, and it's just I love it because it's so wonderfully stupid. Joker takes out a super long, like it looks like a handgun, but it's got an insanely long barrel. absurdly long barrel. I don't even know if a gun could shoot like that. I mean, a gun people could tell me.
No,
how.
it's
Well,
like it's a joke. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it would work at all. And he shoots the bat plane down, and Batman crashes, and it's just like, oh, this is so stupid. And he had that the whole time.
But I love the symmetry of that scene with the Dark Knight Joker, right? Because there's a similar scene where when Batman flips the truck in the Dark Knight, and the Joker walks out and he's like, "Come on, hit me! I want you to do it! And Batman's driving at him, and they sort of have this head-on collision. I really loved the symmetry of that from this movie, where he flies the Batwing at him and he shoots him. Like, I thought that was a really cool callback to this movie that Nolan did.
Could be, but I don't know. And then in the brilliant setting, I mean, we get this rear window. They climb up this absurd tower with ancient wooden steps that haven't been updated in a long time. It's very gothic. It feels very old. And
I want to ride in 5 minutes. He looks up. Better make it 10. What? Where are they? Is he just climbing up some clock tower? It's Hunchback of Notre Dame. What is going on?
And they have these bells that he knocks out with this bizarre acid and his stupid little.
Well, and there's already
acid.
guys up there too. His henchmen are up there. There's the guy with the kung fu that's doing the flips and stuff. It's a weird. Yeah, it's a weird sequence, but I love it. I mean, I love it.
And I like that Batman has almost there's not the no killing thing. Batman kills people in this movie. At the top of that tower, he's fighting some dude around one of those bells, and he drops the guy, and you see an animation of this dude falling.
Yeah, but he doesn't always. In the first scene where he knocks the Napier into the vat, making him the Joker.
He tries to save him.
He tries to save him, but he also saves. There's a couple guys that he knocks over and then catches them and saves them. So he's trying to save the bad guys.
But he does kill people. It does happen, I guess, accidentally, which we don't see in any other Batman movies that I'm aware of, where we see clearly, somebody's dead. And I didn't appreciate that. I mean, we just get very little of his psychology. He's just this guy fighting crime. Some people don't think he exists, and then more and more people do. Every setting is fantastic. The chemical plant where Joker gets dropped into that vat of chemicals. It's just such a lovely, absurd setting. Doesn't make sense. Where there's this unguarded plant with just vats of chemicals swirling around, really. But it looks cool. It's a fun place to put a comic book scene in. It's interesting. But yeah, we don't care about Bruce Wayne. It's interesting how little Bruce Wayne actually matters. All we know is he's just a little lonely. He's just a little sad because he's by himself. But
yeah, that's a tricky character to nail, because they try to make him sort of the playboy kind of thing where he has this party, but you don't see enough of that in this movie. He just seems lonely and weird is really the main takeaways. And then he dresses up like a bat and beats the shit out of people at night, which is also a really weird ass thing to do.
Yeah, does it ever say, "Hey, I started to do this because my parents"? Is there any lines of dialogue where it's he lost his parents and he decided he's going to fight crime?
I don't think so. I guess I always took it because in this movie, which is not sort of the canon in all the other movies, I guess except for the Joker movie, where the Joker's the one that kills his parents, right? In the Dark Knight series in the Batman Begins, it's not the Joker that kills his parents. It's some criminal, just some random thug. But in this movie, it is Napier. I guess I always assumed he was just trying to find him to get revenge. That was the whole reason he became the Batman, was to just get to Nicholson. But that's, I guess, not really the case in the movie, because even once he finds out that he's still alive, he's really not just trying to get him. He's more trying to save Vicky Vale than anything.
Right.
He doesn't seem to want revenge. You know what I mean? In the way that you would.
Yeah, that's a very clear contrast. Revenge / vengeance is a big thing in the newest Batman. It's a big theme. Yeah, it was almost absent. So at least in comparison to that movie,
it's I am vengeance. That's the calling card for the movie.
It is, yeah. And this one, it's he's I don't know. It's almost like he just finds it fun. He's just bored. It's all right, well, what do I have to do? I can just go out and fight all these horrible, corrupt people or junkies on rooftops that are mugging people.
If you build it,
Well, should we transition over to our ratings?
Let's do it.
All right. Do you want to go first? What'd you rate the movie at?
So 4 out of 5. And the lack of a 5 really comes from some of the effects are a little bit dated, and there are a few parts. The romance it's not very compelling. Doesn't make just like that. It's kind of flat. Not a lot going on. We have the reporter character we spend a lot of time with, but all he does is make wisecracks, and his plot is mostly pointless. He doesn't do anything. It doesn't matter.
Well, he's trying to get with Vicky the whole time too. That's
right,
also...
and they're supposedly going to take down the Bat, but then Vicky ends up just falling for Bruce Wayne, and that's just like transitions to that plot.
When you bring up Vicky, that was the part too. Like, what is her deal? Like, so she's a photographer in this movie, right? She does like the Vogue, but she also goes to the Cordell Martis or whatever, the like war
she's
pictures.
doing war photography and stuff.
But she comes to Gotham because she's like horny for a bat. Is like that was what
I think that's her next big scoop. She's gonna try to win like I don't know if you can win a Pulitzer for photography, whatever, like an amount of prestige. I think she wants to get away from the fashion world and wants to become a very serious.
But she never was trying to take his picture. In the whole, she's never taken anybody's picture.
She takes his picture and then he takes the film from her. So she does.
Yeah, when he gets knocked over, yeah, that's right. He does take a picture. But like after that, she's not interested in photographing him.
Well, she figures it out, and then she's like, I've got to keep his secret too. And then it doesn't matter. Love wins out over her career, which is blah. It'd be more interesting if she snuck pictures in and was using it or something. It'd be a way to compel it. But I said this just reminds me of another great scene is at the museum when Joker's looking at a portfolio and he's like, terrible, awful, terrible. I mean, it's just like, oh, this is hilarious. This is just absolutely hilarious. But those are the reasons why it wouldn't be a full 5. But, I mean, it's really fun to look at. The setting is great. It's just fun to me beginning to end. I didn't care about the weird animation. I kind of thought like, oh, yeah, that looks goofy. But I also kind of like that weird bat moving on the rooftop. It's like, I sometimes get nostalgic for old special effects when they're charming, even if they look bad. But, this is 4 out of 5. I was thoroughly entertained. It held up way better than I thought it would. And it was such a awesome change of pace from pretty much every Batman movie, even if you include Justice League. It's just such a fun change of pace. More entertaining.
Well, that's the worst Batman. If we're ranking Batmans, I think Ben Affleck's Batman is the worst. But
as a Batman, maybe. The worst one's still Batman and Robin. That's the worst overall movie. I haven't seen Batman v Superman.
I don't know. Batman v Superman.
Batman and Robin is so awful.
Yeah, but it's funny though. It's funny though.
Well, you can laugh at it ironically. Yeah. It's not. You're not laughing with the movie. You're just like, I can't believe they made these choices. I can't believe George Clooney.
They put nipples on Batman. Like, yeah, that's crazy.
Why do they have like butt cheeks carved into their costume? This is nonsense. These decisions are insane and so stupid. Why are these guys on ice skates?
Everything
stupid.
Schwarzenegger says in that movie is hilarious.
Well, he tries. He's the only one with any kind of real comedic timing or chops in that movie. But the ice puns are over. Like there's like 20 or 30 ice related puns or cold related puns in that movie. It's just bad. I've seen the Snyder Cut of Justice League. I haven't seen Batman v Superman. Maybe that's the absolute worst one. I don't know.
It's so
I thought
bad.
Justice League was better by far than Batman and Robin, which I think
Did you see the original Justice League? You said Snyder Cut. Okay, the Snyder Cut's well improved version because the original Justice League was trash also.
Okay, fair enough. All right, well anyway, yeah, that's me. 4 out of 5. It held up really well. Super entertaining. Don't be scared to watch it. If you go back, you'll have a good time, and I think you'll probably remember mostly what you loved by it. You might even catch some stuff because that Nicholson Joker, he's got a lot of pop culture references spew out.
Yeah, and for that reason, I put it at 4.5. Didn't put it at 5 just because I think The Dark Knight's better. But it's pretty great. It's a pretty great movie. The Nicholson, every scene he's in, just talk about stealing. I mean, from the scene where he shocks the other gangsters and a little hot under the collar. Stupid. I mean, everything he says is so it's corny, but also kind of dark and funny at the same time, and he's fully committed to it all.
Well, yeah, he's always maniacally laughing at his own insane macabre humor, and just the the flower that instead of squirting water squirts acid, and all the stupid, corny like gags that end up becoming lethal. It's all fun. I mean, yeah, anytime he's on the screen, it's pretty much entertaining from the get-go.
You would hit a guy with glasses. Yeah, I mean, everything he does is hilarious. And then the fact that it's Jack Nicholson, one of the literally greatest actors in the history of cinema, is also just hilarious that he's in this and he's like, he must have been at least 50, right? By the time
he's on the backish end of his career. Right. Like, he's already been established. He's already done his prestige stuff and won his Oscars.
How many Oscars has he already won by then? He does win another one after this, though, right? As Good as It Gets.
He's got As Good as It Gets is a few years later, and then I don't know if he gets one for.
But he's already a legend. He's a legend. He's an acting legend.
Yeah, this is a movie you're kind of shocked he would do. Like, Jack Palance didn't have the success that Jack Nicholson did. So you see, he's playing some mob guy. But yeah, it's so bizarre to see somebody as situated as Jack Nicholson in this role.
Didn't Nicholson get like a ton of money too? Because like they paid him a lot to be in it, but didn't he get like 10% of all the money that the movie made?
He probably did, and they worked around, and they filmed it around the Lakers home game schedule too. Like they couldn't shoot because he wanted to go to Lakers home games.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be your Joker, but like, I'm not missing any Lakers games.
That's actually a really good Nicholson, man. That's pretty solid. But even to the point with the makeup that made him smile, that shit looked uncomfortable, right? Like,
why did he go through this? Yeah, and I think
there's a scene where he tries to drink his martini when Sugar Bumps comes in. He's drinking his martini and he can barely like move his lips, and it looks like he's just like sort of pouring it in his mouth.
Yeah, but which makes him look more insane. It adds to the overall effect.
He's 100% like, I'm this guy with this trying to drink, and it makes no sense and it's ridiculous, but he's so committed to it that it's actually kind of impressive when it should be a really bad scene. So yeah, I mean, for that reason, 4.5. I just can't get it to 5 because I think you're right. There is some stuff that's a little dated. That the sort of latter third of the movie, I think, drags a bit up until the 200-year celebration stuff. Love the music. You mentioned the music. The score is great.
Prince soundtrack.
We haven't even talked really about Prince yet. He did all the music. He did the songs in the movie. Yeah. Gotta love the Prince stuff. But the one thing that did jump out at me, there's only like 2 or 3 of the songs from the soundtrack that are actually in the movie. So that was a little interesting. But the score is so iconic. That's the music they use sort of till today. I mean, they tweak it a bit, but that's Batman, right? Like, that's Batman music when you hear it.
Yeah, but I love when they bring the boombox into the museum. I was like, oh, this is great. So usually you have this problem in comics where you have like, where do the henchmen come from and why do they do this, right? Like, why are they engaged in this? But you just feel like these dudes that are with Joker are like, this shit is insane. I'm going to ride with this guy because this is nuts. Sure, I'll put on my makeup and go to City Hall. Sure, let's do some spray painting and dance to some Prince music at a museum and trash it. Sounds good. Let's do some corny dancing in a parade and throw wads of cash out. Sounds like a good time, my man. I'm there. But it's just delightfully silly. It seemed somewhat convincing. He was like, oh, yeah, I get it. He'd be fun to hang around this guy.
All right, should we shift over to the 5 Degrees of Field of Dreams?
Yes, we should. Do you want to go first, Eric?
Sure, I can go first. This was a fun one. I really enjoyed this. It was a little tricky. So I went with a lot of actors in movies that I really like because I was just thought it would be fun. All right, so 1989's Batman, star of the movie, Michael Keaton plays Bruce Wayne in Batman. He's in one of my all-time favorite movies, Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance. I love that movie so much. I know you don't like it all that much, but it's one of my all-time favorites.
Oh, I love parts of it, but I just don't like where it gets really preachy and
it's very preachy. Yep. It's a little heavy-handed, but one of my favorites. Edward Norton's in that movie, and he's really good in that movie. And I normally don't like Edward Norton. He's one of those actors.
He's good. It's interesting.
Don't care for him normally.
What's he in that you think he's bad at? Whether you'd like him as a person.
It's not that he's bad. Well, the Hulk movie's terrible. Italian Job, he's terrible in that movie.
Okay.
Just annoying. Rounders, it's one of his iconic roles. He's playing an
annoying character. He's playing a deliberately irritating character, but he's deliberately irritating in it.
and he's good in that role. But then when he started to try to be like the leading man, like in Red Dragon, and what was the heist movie he was in with? Was it Marlon Brando in it? Like one of his last movies. I can't. The Score. Yeah, The Score. I think is what it is.
Marlon
he was
Brando's in The Score.
Yeah, De Niro and Marlon Brando. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, The Score. Have you never seen that movie?
No,
it's a good heist movie. But he's like the lead man in that movie, and he just kind of annoys me. 25th Hour, I think, is a great movie, and he's okay in that as the lead. But
I think he's great in 25th Hour.
He's great when he tries to be like a tough guy. It's the most unconvincing thing ever, because he does not. He strikes me as this weaselly little wimp.
You don't think he's great in American History X?
I don't think it's all that convincing, because he's such a wimp. It's probably his best like all around performance.
Wow. Okay, you just don't think he's masculine and tough enough. You just like, here's a lame Hollywood actor twerp pretending to be pretending to be tough. Okay.
I can't. Like even in 25th Hour, he's supposed to be this really tough. Like his dad's a cop and he's dealt drugs and stuff. And there's a scene where he asks him to punch him. And like he's supposed to be this really tough guy. It just doesn't really land that much. And like I said, I love 25th Hour. That movie's amazing. But that's just where I stand on Edward Norton.
Interesting. Okay.
He put out a movie. I haven't seen it in 2019 called Motherless Brooklyn. I think he directed it too. Maybe I wrote and directed it. Didn't see it. Don't know anything about it. But Alec Baldwin is in that movie, and he's in The Hunt for Red October, which is a great movie. Sean Connery's like Russian accent is all time in that movie. It's so great, so stupid that he's like a Scottish guy in the Russian army. Anyways, James Earl Jones is also in that, and he's in Field of Dreams.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Yeah, man, I tried to get different venues to get to different actors inside Field of Dreams, so I was able to take a different route. So we start with Batman, of course, then I hopped over to Beetlejuice, still Tim Burton. Obviously, Michael Keaton, star of that movie. He's in Beetlejuice.
Did they ever work together again after that?
After Returns? Well, Batman Returns, and then...
Right, yep. Because they did like 3 movies together, back to back to back. I don't think they ever worked together again.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. I mean, Michael Keaton's a guy who kind of after the 90s, I mean, he was in stuff, but he seemed to not be in nearly as much. I don't know. He seemed to have his time to shine in the 80s, and
he's had a resurgence since Birdman. He's had a resurgence.
Yeah. But it was like for a while before Birdman. I mean, he was doing stuff clearly, but I don't remember what he was doing between like 2000 and 2014. It had to be stuff, but I don't know what it was. Yeah, so Beetlejuice. Catherine O'Hara is in Beetlejuice with Michael Keaton, and Catherine O'Hara is in a Scorsese movie called After Hours. Are you familiar with After Hours at all?
I am. It's another one of those Scorsese movies that I'm supposed to love, and I don't. I think I like it. It's a crazy movie and a lot of crazy. It's one of those like all in one night movies. It's entertaining. I didn't love it.
I like it, not love it too. I mean, I have a similar reaction. I mean, it's fun. I'm not bored, but was it one of his best? No. But he's in that movie Catherine O'Hara is in that movie with Terry Garr, like the waitress that is into Griffin Dunn. And Terry Garr, and this is a side note, this isn't my connection, but Terry Garr is actually the wife of Michael Keaton in Mr. Mom. So just another.
Isn't in After Hours? Isn't the dad from Home Alone in that movie too? Yes, he's like the bartender. So both the mom parents. And the dad are both parents are in that movie. Yeah, that's funny.
That's right. Yep. So and Terry Garr is in a movie called Mom and Dad Save the World or Save the Planet. I'm not sure which one it is. I think Save the World. Have you ever heard the Mom and Dad Save the World? Does that mean anything to you, Eric?
Nope, means nothing to me. Nope.
Okay, it's this very cornball sci-fi-ish fantasy movie from like 1994. It was a commercial and critical flop. Involves Terry Garr and the guy who's the principal in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I don't remember the actor's name, but
the Howard the Duck guy.
Yeah, so they're the mom and dad, and they get, for whatever reason, John Lovitz is the dictator on this planet of people who are exceptionally stupid. Like that's expressly conveyed in the movie. They're just profoundly stupid people on this planet. And for whatever reason, John Lovitz sees Terry Garr, falls in love with her, and pulls their car across the galaxy to him. And so they end up on this like sci-fi planet, and they end up having to defeat John Lovitz. And it's really insane. It's not good, but it's also entertaining. Anyway, there's a guy in it called Durian Brown. And Durian Brown plays Kevin Costner's dad in Field of Dreams.
Okay.
And that's why we took this bizarre turn to this other movie. So yeah, he's the guy that says, should we have a catch?
Have a catch, yeah.
And I was like, how do I get to that guy? And so that was my route for getting to that guy.
Wow, look at you.
So check another one off the list. I found a way to get to that guy. I've got some other ones to get through at some point, but goal achieved.
Impressive. All right, any closing words on 1989's Batman?
Oh, no, it's a good time. If it's still on, I got promotional credits and watching it on Amazon Prime, but if you spend $4 to rent it,
it was on HBO Max. Actually, all of the Batman movies, I think Batman Returns, I think the third one is on there. Is the third one the Two-Face and Carey one?
Correct.
Jim Carrey one?
Batman
okay, yeah.
Forever.
Forever, yeah. I think that's on there. So I think that as of at least the recording of this, that they're all on HBO Max.
Oh, okay. I must have missed it, but I had free promotional credits, so I rented it on Prime. Either way. But it's very much worth a watch.
Okay. Well, the next episode is kind of a special episode. We have a guest on the Pot of Dreams. And the guest pick for that episode is The Last Dragon, another 80s movie, crazy, kooky, sort of faux kung fu movie, The Last Dragon. So watch that leading up to our next week's episode. And that's all we got, Ben. Take it easy, man. You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
How about this? Never dance with the devil in the pale moonlight.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.